So the latest research from the US government, it's only a few months old, shows that only 1/3 of the caloric intake of American children has any micronutrients in it.
Whoa.
Okay. They are one, I'm not sure I got the verb right. Let me say it a different way. 67% of the caloric intake of children under the age of 19 comes from ultra processed chemical packages. So we have an entire generation or two of children who are feeding their brains at about 1/3 of what our ancestors were eating because they're not eating real food. By the way, if you look at the American data, this is US, this is the NHANES survey data. I can send you the references if you want from the US government. Um, if you look at the adults, it's a little better. It's 57% instead of 67%, but it's still pretty terrible.
Yeah.
And the results, the data from the UK are about 65%. And the Canadian data, it's a little outdated, but it's over 60%. So it's a Western world problem. We are, I mean, just like the pharmaceutical companies control what goes into our treatments, the food companies control the non-food products which we are eating. They have influenced a whole multiple generations of people that it's okay not to eat real food. So the number one thing to do is what Michael Pollan says, eat real food. He
Mhm.
also said not too much and mostly plants. But for the topic we're discussing, eat real food, or what Dr. Andrew Weil used to call, even before Michael Pollan was on the scene, he said true food. You have to eat true food.
Mhm.
And just doing that, you'll be feeding your brain much better. Um, yeah.
I know in the book you talk quite a bit about the Mediterranean diet as sort of a good base dietary template to follow. Why not something more trendy like the keto diet?
Yeah. I'm glad you asked that. So first of all, if you go back and look, I think every time we said Mediterranean, we put Mediterranean style diet,
Hmm.
because nobody really knows anymore what's the Mediterranean diet. Does it require sit down dinners with family and friends? Some people would say yes, red
Yeah,
wine, etc. Okay.
yeah.
The point is that if you look at the graph of the Mediterranean style diet food, it's real food. It's fruits and vegetables and nuts and seeds. It's depending on if you're a pescatarian or a vegetarian or whatever, you get your protein from different sources. It's whole grains and it's olive oil. And it's learning how to cook with lentils. Beans and legumes are where you will save your money and enrich your diet. So that's why it's the first step toward getting what your brain needs. And as you increase that, you will not have room for those ultra processed chemicals that some people call ultra processed foods, but I refuse to call foods. They're ultra processed non foods.
Hmm.
So why that better than you said it yourself, trendy. There are all kinds of trendy diets that come and go. Ketogenic is fascinating to me because I used to work in an epilepsy unit for a while, when I was more in the neurosciences, and the ketogenic, this was 50 years ago, ketogenic diet was all the rage, but and I know it's had tremendous effects for some people. But um, let's step back and remember that we're talking about mental health. And if you're talking about mental health, you're dealing with people who probably aren't feeling very good about themselves, even if they're not outright depressed. The last thing they need is a failure experience.
Hmm.
And some of these diets, we don't call them trendy diets. I think in the book we call them restrictive diets. They're hard to follow. Even a gluten-free diet is hard to follow. And some people don't need a gluten-free diet. So we don't say you shouldn't do any of those, but we're just saying don't make it your first step. First, eat real food. See how much better you can get on that. And then if you decide maybe, you really do think you might be gluten sensitive, go on a gluten-free diet. If you think you really want to try intermittent fasting, try it. But first, get rid of the rubbish.
Hmm.
That's my philosophy.
Are there any specific foods or supplements beyond broad spectrum nutrient supplementation like things that you would put in the category of superfood, super herbs, super supplements of various kinds? Anything that has jumped out to you that has really impressed you as far as its ability to improve brain health and mental health?
Actually, the simple answer is no. I mean, certainly omega-3 fatty acids are important for building and maintaining our cell walls. And that's true throughout our brain and body. There are herbs like turmeric that are very well supported for arthritis kinds of pains, inflammatory things, but I don't think there's any evidence of it being particularly relevant for brain health. So, for brain health, if we just stick to mental health, I would just say eat real food and get rid of the rubbish. Don't try a restrictive diet first because you might find it too hard and you'll feel like a failure, and this is not the way to go. You want to feel good about yourself. Do all the other things, exercise, meditation, family support, etc. And you can transform. I know people transform their lives doing that, even without any kind of supplementation.